Hi, today I'm gonna try to make a box. I'm gonna make a box out of a solid block of a clay. So generally require a waiting times, but I'm gonna do a few step of process. First, you just have a block of a solid clay, and it can be anything. Just make sure that you wedge your clay well. Okay. So once you wedge your clay, then you can think about what shape that you want. So I'm going to take this. So these are a solid block of a clay, totally solid. Okay. So to create the surface like this, I'm using the wire and to using a wire to create the surface first. I'll take this. Gonna come down. You can see right here. There's another line. Here's one more line. You can see all these sharp edges I really like, and I'm gonna keep them and not touch it. And then as well as the top. I'm gonna take that open. So now I got all corners nice and solid, but it's a beautiful texture right there. Okay, and then this time, so I'm gonna try to do this. I'm gonna determine, you know, actually, I'm gonna cut it like that. So now I'm just gonna left it alone and maybe dry for. This is kind of cutting mark, so you can almost like a key that you can see where your box can go back to. All these sharp edges, I'm not gonna touch it just because I think it's really nice. I'm not gonna touch it. So this right now, you just have to let them dry. I kind of let them dry a little bit of maybe a few hours or even um, overnight. So let them dry it out a little bit. So here is some example. And here, maybe like 3-4 hours ago, I just made this cut, the same thing too. Now you can see the edges is pretty sharp, pretty hard, but still kind of soft in here. But I want to say right now, probably should wait a little bit, even though still kind of a little hard on the edges. But you can see the clay that I cut the line right there, kind of dry in two different directions, so they're pushing away from each other's. So if I open them up like that, they are absolutely solid. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna carve them, okay? But right now I'm gonna leave this like that. I'm gonna take this. I'm gonna take the top part, and I'm gonna go ahead and take my sharp edges. I'm gonna create a line. Maybe what we'll do right here is I'm probably just gonna wait a little longer just because it's still a little bit hard. I mean soft. I'm gonna take this. Now you just have to really take your time and to carve it out a little by little. So this is a different than a slab constructions, which is usually people doing the hand building. This is like almost like a subtractive, take off the excess clay because it's solid. Yeah. The trick of this method is make sure This surface right here versus this surface right here are not disturbed. So you can see the little clay raise up later on when they dry a little bit more. We can take a little sharp knife and go across it. So now I'm just going to take my time and do this and then take down as much as I want it. Okay, again, not touching, not disturb any of the edges. You can always go back to clean them a little bit. Okay, so take your time to do it. And then here's another one. I'll probably clean a little bit more. So same thing as this one right here. Maybe I use a bigger one. I'm going to go down. So think about this as like a subtractive. You know, it just, you are creating a space right now in between your inside of your the solid rock. And I think a lot of um, uh, method that you can do besides of coil pinch pot that you can do at home. This is a one more way that you can do at home is by making a solid piece and create a box. So I'm going to keep going down and keep taking my time. Inside the clay right now, this is still very plastic. The clay is still very plastic. I say if the clay, I can wedge them together right here and I can do the throwing. Okay, so this is how wet they are. But the outside definitely dried out a little bit more. I'm going to take this out. And I'm going to go down a little bit more. The idea of the using this method is almost like feel like you create your own boxes. Instead of a throwing on the wheel, you making a center well open and you create a shape. Now you are really taking a piece by piece and subtracting them. Yeah. So I'm going to come down right here just a little deeper. Right. Right in here. Okay. And then I'm going to take that later. Right now, I'm going to clay kind of stretch it a little bit. So I'm looking at this. And it looks not too bad. Now, this actually a simple flinge with a simple lid. So they're put together like that. Here you go. I'll put this in just a little bit. Right here. I didn't have a key with it, do I? Okay, right here. Perfect. Because I can see that curve. So right now I'm going to let them dry and then I will cut them. Now the next step that I will do is I need to make. This is a simple flinge. This is a simple lid. So they both are simple, which is not going to work at this case because for those who know that you need some sort of ledge to hold the lid and not to move. So that means I will probably build a little coil in here. Make a nice straight coil, maybe 2 of them. And I'll flatten it out. So right here, be sure you kind of score and slip a little bit when you're making this, okay? So I'm going to take one more. Probably don't need much. I'm going to take this, I'm going to compress it down. Okay. So then here, I want to see, maybe I can clean just a little bit more. taking my time. Okay. And once I've done this, I will go back in and then kind of clean them just a little bit. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of the ledge, the complex flinch. So I'm going to build it on here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to slightly taper. Ooh, look at that. Perfect. I take this part and probably only make this much. Right here. Again, try not to disturb the edges. I'm going to try to make this curve go in a little bit. Instead of a straight 90 degree, I'm going to bring that ledge and that little edges go in. Make sure you score and slip. Okay. So right in here, I'm going to clean them. I'm going to come back and then clean them just a little bit. And this will be the edge. And then we'll fit right in. And we'll just keep working on it until they kind of fits in right there. Because right now the clay is still kind of soft, but I'm tapering them in just a little bit. Okay, I'll go back in, kind of clean the edges right here. So slowly we'll fit them back in. Okay, not bad, not bad. So maybe what I would do is, so again, take your time. Right now still kind of wet, so the clay is really hard to work. So what I would do is I kind of go back to clean them a little bit, make sure the edges is good, and then we'll go back in and fit it back in again. Okay, so we just keep working on it, and sooner or later that thing gonna fits it back in. And so if you have it like that, so hopefully something will look like this, right? You open it, and it's a little bit of complex lid with a simple flinch. You can see it kind of carve out just a little bit right in here. Okay. Okay, so this is how to build a box with the solid clay.